blue.
What's the matter, honey? What's the matter, honey?
Turn the thing off. I'm not coming out.
Okay. Hey, boys. Skeety. Hey, boys. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Newark, New York.
Newark, New York, no. New Jersey.
Yeah, I know.
It's probably up near Albany.
That's a slicer?
Yeah, it's a bit like an old globe slicer, except you do it by hand. Put the meat against here.
Oh.
And this is a
Slice it.
this is a thickness gauge, which
Right.
is great.
Which changes the depth of the cut.
Right.
They really are quite something.
I think it's a nice piece of
Oh,
work.
and it works. That's the thing that's amazing. It really does do it.
I bet. Well, this kind of steel is really nice
That's
to
the old-
sharpen. You know, it
right.
holds an edge.
Yeah, it's the old carbon steel.
Yeah. That's really the best. So I'm trying to get out this little kitchen job I have here, and it's I usually, you know, I do general contracting, but I do some cabinets. That's the kind of door I made for it. And usually I make these, you know how you put the slides in the side?
Mm-hmm.
I usually do that. And I did this boat, which was a modern boat. I don't like the horse. I like wood on wood. Really.
Yeah, but so much faster than they can do them.
I don't know. Like, you know, the draws that I make, you don't have any play in them at all, you know.
Yeah,
It's nice. But, you know, it's,
yeah, I used to make multi drawers too.
wasn't a whole lot of,
With a side slot.
Yeah.
Slot.
Yeah.
Right. Then you can.
and I never, these are all full overlay. And I used to, when I made them before, I always have, I like the flush
Right.
guard.
I do too.
Well, this is an overlay. You know, with these kind of.
Well, an overlay is an easier way of doing it, and for mass production, you don't have to fit it so well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure, you got a very adjustable hinge, which
Right.
is very nice.
Do you
don't have
use the European hardware on the?
the Blum hardware,
Right.
which the concealed hinge. You can see one right here.
Right.
So this is the shop.
Yeah, it's nice.
Very nice. Good.
Slightly different machine.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's
Like
better.
a little saw blade.
You know, I think this saw blade's handmade. If you look at it, if you really look at it, and see how the configuration of the teeth, nothing is the same.
Yeah. Right.
And I think it's, you know, one of the originals. I mean, there's not. I mean, they're so different. It must
Yeah,
be
exactly.
made by hand.
Either that or the guy who sharpened it didn't.
Well, no, you know, even the spacing.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How often I have here?
Yeah.
That
looks like his grandfather. Your grandfather.
Yeah.
That's a piece of work. You ever see that poster?
Oh, isn't that nice? Yeah. Boy.
That, you got some old guys in there.
Yeah, I have a lot of those outfits. I got a lot of the planes. I must have 40 or 50 of them.
Yeah,
Multiple planes. I've used them. I've used them when I had to restore old gazebos from the
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Civil War times. And
I've used that big joining plane I have.
like one of our friend's yacht design.
Winthrop Warner.
Wow. They were going to chainsaw. And
Did you don't make that dry rot?
your son originated the whole system. Yeah, I wouldn't restore it. I would sister it up. And I got the sail. Here. I got all the hardware.
You ever hear of George Stadell? Yeah, we're gonna do a TV on him. He's great old man.
What's great about this for a 29-foot boat is 6 foot 3 inches. Very. And I don't know much about boats. I just had it. Upstairs is it's my old growler here I use. It's a
Oh, yeah.
old wood style. I have a little gas that I keep it at 50. This year I didn't, but I use it with wood.
Smart.
It's nice, you know. Sacrifice some of those pieces of the work you're doing. It's kind of a ceremonial thing. Up here is a
Studio.
studio. Display photos and holds 1,200 inside.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And now I just made some other prototypes to eliminate all the plastic and the weight and the expense. And now I'm making all the interior out of wood. And I like to produce this here, and you just snap this off.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea.
Mm.
This one holds 1,200, this one holds
And
400.
they're hangables, right?
Oh yes, yeah. It takes just as much space as
Yeah.
a painting.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's Miami Zoo.
Huh.
This is Nova Scotia. This is the boat that I did the interior on. I did this room here,
Mm-hmm.
and we did the whole galley. This is the deck I built.
Nice.
This was an interesting deck. It's really a challenge because it was like 40 feet from here to the top.
Wow.
And
That's very nice.
and the way I constructed it, I designed it. This was a bathroom there. And this had a matrix with a translucent plastic, so it acted as a lantern for the deck.
Hmm.
And this eventually became closed in, which was an afterthought on their part. So I made this because of the terrain. This is 40 feet from here to here, and these are all 8x8s. I designed it to be put together with carriage bolts rather than use.
Right. What kind of wood did you use?
Uh,
37 or?
No, this is it was a fir, pressure treated fir,
Mhm.
and it was oversized. So that this gives you an idea. And I made a jig for those. In fact, I took all the parts that were left over, and I have this piece of sculpture and put it together from the parts from the leftovers, which I do a lot. I make a lot of art from the leftovers.
Hmm.
And, these are
So these were laminated then, basically, even though they were bolted together being a laminated type of construction.
right. No, I'm sorry. That's I think this is a machine, Mark.
But what are these bolts in here for?
I remember this 5 years ago. They were man-made.
Yeah, I think what you did is, you came with the center section, you went up in there, bolted that, and then you have the outside sections here that were bolted to the center section, right?
Right.
You use the bolts up here?
I don't think they are man-made. Why is that thing?
I don't know. You built it. But you see here, I mean, I was just looking at these.
This is an addition I put on my sister's house. See out there, it's a very old house.
Oh,
I had to
yeah. Beautiful.
marry the two
Hand
things
beams.
together. Yeah.
Mm. Used to do a lot of work with those beams.
Oh, I did too. I did a lot of restoration.
Oh, wow, that. You ever know by the fellow named Weiss? Weiss?
Up in Woodbury?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you got me going on this one.
Oh, yeah. I love these. These are old chestnut beams are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. They're hard as a rock. You have to drill a hole and drill it. Put a nail in them.
And we built this round bed in there.
Do the ceiling.
We did the ceiling too and the light.
Mm-hmm.
But this boat didn't have a stick of wood on it. You should see the, how you drive this boat, steer it. You can steer this boat with a little, this thing or this little switch. Nice unit for free.
Well, that's perfect.
Wow, great.
You know, it's not a great piece, but it works.
Yeah, right.
You know, I like it. This is the kind.
Yeah, right. That's what I always use.
And they couldn't get it to work. All I did was really, you know, wax it up and take some of the burr off.
The thing that I used to do when I used to make these doors, I would leave a little piece. In other words, you'd take your 1/4 inch groover, groove one side, groove this both sides, and then you'd bring it up so that you left a little bit sticking out. And that's the way you could, the rabbiting thing, you could just fit it, so right? And it only then rides on the top and on this one little small 1/8 of an inch.
Right, I
To
understand.
cut the friction down.
There's that book. You want to take a look at that? It's a nice book. You ever see this book? Very nice.
Oh, right, it does.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's
The
really
English oak.
And very nice use of the grain, you know, the
Right.
proportions to the face.
Right. Oh, that was a master carver.
Oh, yeah.
Probably did that in half an hour.
I used to cast bronze pieces. I was a foreman of a bronze foundry.
Right.
I did, I'll show you next door, I
Old
did
Gandhi.
Charlie Chaplin and a couple of other people. A little project I did, this was done in bronze. I was working at General Electric as a prototype developer. I made all their clocks from designers' drawings. And I came in there and I was like, you know, the sculptor, because I went and applied for the job with a suitcase full of sculpture rather than a resume. I was pulling all this out. So I got this job. This was for a vice president who was retiring. And it was a hand on a plaque with 2 dice rolling out there because he was a big craps player, right? So they made me do that.
Yeah.
So I use this as an office. We'll go next door. Careful on the way down here. If you're a boat person, no problem.
Yeah, but I lost my sea legs.
Right?
Yeah. You know, 1 year.
This is another piece. That's a fertility. That's pretty old.
That is old.
Is that Hawaiian or something?
Yeah, it could be, you know. It's made out of.
Polynesian?
Heaven.
Yeah, it looks like it. Probably Zircon, probably ancient Mayan. Well, that's the sap portion of it. you
Right.
know. It is beautiful. Well, we'll show you some. We got some wood samples here.
Okay.
That.
That's a filter for a sand filter for an old.
Nice shape.
This kind of paintings I do like glass. Actually, this is This is, have you ever heard of Bimini Road? The ancient road they found off of Bimini,
Sure.
50
Right.
miles.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
kind of like, this is what I
I
call
got
it.
you, I got
You know what I mean? It's kind of
Where
underwater.
Von Daniken thought he was going to find Atlantis, there was a road coming out of Atlantis or something.
Right.
And they never did figure out whether that was natural or whether it was man-made.
This is a piece I did not too long ago.
Really?
This is, it's called Temple 2000. It's, my brother's bamboo in the back. It's not completed yet, but what it is it's the guts of a television.
Aha,
These are
right.
Pretty obvious what
good.
those are, so
Yeah.
that there's,
Yeah,
I put some other things, and this is the configuration of Star of David and the cross,
mm-hmm.
like my hinges. I wasn't gonna fool with it, I just
Well, that's
put
good,
them
that's
on there.
good, that works.
And I may do this in black as well.
Well,
I think there's a little statement there.
A white, because then
White?
this would be lost if you just did it in the black. I do it in the white.
Right, I think
Then
you're
you'll
right.
pick up the colors and everything else.
Right, I think that's a good idea. Or maybe a light
Oh.
gray or something, yeah. That's good.
Like,
This is a piece I did once, it's on
I like these.
Modern Times,
Right.
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, right.
I produced a whole bunch of these. I did a series for the Book of the Month Club on Charlie Chaplin, 500 pieces. And the first 40 castings, the heads all popped off because they weren't gated properly. So this is Modern Times, if you remember, it was a kind of
Yeah.
rebuttal to the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
I think there's a little statement there, you know.
Right.
This is what my Lou Aiello, the same fellow did the other with, said he's into these kind of things, which are pretty interesting. You know, he works with minimal kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He made his whole living making mannequin hands and mannequin heads. Yeah.
So
He was
he likes the contrast between the man-made and the nature-made.
yeah. There's a lot of This is not a good example, but you get a lot of that.
I can tell you what he-
Fresnel effect.
Right, yeah, but what he could do, if he would get an even better Fresnel effect, if he sprayed one side one color, and sprayed the back side another color, and did the same thing on the other side,
Yeah.
then you get that movement back and forth likewise.
This one I call Family 111.
That's good. I like that.
This is my great-grandfather's work chest from, he was from Bern, Switzerland. Seeing it's you, I'll take the stuff off and show you part of it. I haven't got to restoring it. He was a cabinet maker and frame maker, and he did lots of stuff.
Mm-hmm. That inlay work?
Yeah, and this is what they bring on the job.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
You know, checkers, and see how he graduated these doors? And there was like a hidden bottom, which I have the drawers upstairs.
Right. Perfect. You made your own tools? Look at this.
Right.
Really nice. This is your grandfather's or
Great-grandfather.
great-grandfather?
Nicholas Messer from Bern, which I'd love to get there.
You should.
City of Bears, have you been there?
No, but I mean, you
Bern
should
is
do
supposed
that.
Oh, I'd love to just, look up the records and, maybe find somebody.
Yeah, you kind of
It's
do
a
a
little
little.
esoteric here. Strange kind of piece I made. My wife and I are separated now, but this is the kind of sculpture she did.
Oh.
This was called this is the Businessman Special.
Yeah, that's great.
Quite good piece, actually.
Yeah, that is nice.
Gosh,
You
I
must
feel
spend a
better.
little time on that. You should put a little rotating.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That is very nice. So is she still doing this, or?
Not so much.
I guess it gets kind of boring. You gotta work on something like
Well,
that for
she's
a
an
couple
art
of months.
teacher, too.
What?
She's an art teacher.
Ah. Well, this is lovely.
This is
Yeah.
little kitchen.
Yeah.
Do you guys like some iced tea? I made some iced
Oh, yeah,
tea.
that'd be
Sure.
great. No.
This was originally cows were in here, and
Do you still get the cow smell every once in a while on a wet night?
that's my I love to read
About Charlie?
anybody.
Oh.
Anybody.
All right. I was never a great favorite of Truman's until I heard.
Great. Washington Goes to War. It really shows you how the government was, our modern government was kind of set up. That's when they really set it up, just before World War II. That's a great book, and David Franklin's got that nice dry humor in it.
It was sort of hit or miss. They made an awful lot of mistakes.
Oh, they made a lot of mistakes. like to go to Tibet. Isn't it great? They have some pictures. Those people have such a look. I'm going to show you, like,
Oh,
sagey-looking people. Like,
I was reading about Ladakh, which is behind the Himalayas.
oh, really?
And that's a totally different society. It's a plain that's way elevated, like 30,000 feet.
Uh-huh.
And it's a flat plain that is interspersed with very fertile valleys and forests, but they're
Mhm.
spotted around. And they are really,
Look at this. Look at these. Look at this face. Look at that face.
well, that's very similar to the way the Mayans were.
Right. I mean, he is like. There's something very ancient about that. The whole posture, and this is like, I wouldn't want him aiming at me. That's for sure. Let's hope. Gets kind of, no drawing, no nothing, and I made some mistakes, but
Oh, that's cute.
she loves it. I'm thinking of making a smaller one.
That's
Make
neat.
one that walks.
Yeah, actually, I found an example of a Roman doll where the fingers move and the whole thing. And oh yeah, I didn't really work out the particulars on that particular piece.
That's the one thing that's interesting about this culture and the ancient Mayan culture. They're outworldly. They really do. There's a book that I have that I'm reading right now, which they were great mathematicians, almost equal to the ancient Persians. As a matter of fact, their calendar had only been equaled in its ability to be able to judge the solar calendar until we came out with the atomic clock. Was that accurate? They believe that that another coming of whatever it may be, one of their gods, will occur in 2012.
So,
That's the
well,
end of their-
I think it's pretty obvious that there's many changes going on. Many spheres, weather,
Well, I
human
think
nature. I mean, I don't think that it's all a coincidence. I think
well, I'll tell you right now.
it's going to be a better thing.
I
It might
think.
be worse, but then it'll be better.
Did you see that recent shot that was taken by the astronauts on their last?
No,
Well, it showed two UFOs,
it did.
and it was clear as a day. I mean, it showed these two UFOs, and they were traveling along. All of a sudden, one UFO took off, and the other UFO that was down here shot something up at it. Had the other guy not moved, he would have been destroyed by whatever it was, and it shows it. It shows it. I saw it on TV. NASA giving the pictures out.
I read a book. Have you ever heard of a book called Star People?
No.
It's about people that have visitations. Usually have first visit. There's a profile.
Right.
Usually have visitations by an angel, which a lot of people believe that angels exist.
Angels
At
being-
5 years old, and then they usually get sick. Something happens, trauma, or they have a near-death experience at about 11, and it happens again. And these people are here.
They're being visited by extraterrestrial intelligence.
They're
Supposedly.
seed
Right.
of extraterrestrials, and they say that there are people who do that, and they're mostly in the helping arts, like psychology, and supposedly influenced like some of the Apollo programs. People that are in there, what you'd say someone might just think they're very, charismatic people, but that there's supposed to be some kind of DNA releasing thing that's going to help us get through this change. That, I mean, how many religions? The one you just stated, I didn't know. At 2012, I mean, there's the year 2000 is a real roadstone for a road marker for a lot of things.
I'll bring the book by the next time you can read it. It's really. Greg and I were talking about doing an article, doing a video show on the ancient Mayan ruins, of which they've only discovered like what they think is 5% of the ruins.
Oh yeah, I know there's a lot.
And most of the developments and the understanding of the calligraphy and so forth, they have the hieroglyphics only occurred in the last 20 years or so. That's all.
Do you want to hear that little piece?
Oh, sure.
I have a young fellow that's living with me. His father actually passed away on a sailing accident, fell overboard. And he's a young composer, and he put together a little piece that might be like an intro to a program like we were talking about. You know, just the intro part. No, just a regular mandolin. That was a good part of that. I think it's simple. I think it's nice. I don't have much light. See, when I'm actually into it, when I'm doing it, you know, you look and you start seeing different things at different levels in here. You know, really stated to too many people, but there are, you know, I sometimes scrape away with a razor blade, and there'll be a face there, and it's like, it lets you know something. You know, it's. I was out in Utah, and I had a revelation out there. I was out in Canyonlands State Park, and seeing all these faces. You know, you see the faces in the, you know, human Indian-like looking faces in the rocks or the rock formation itself, and saying, boy, this really looks like a human. And then I realized that we looked like that. That was the difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
This is a piece by Lou Ayala. Here.
Well, what is this Gaelic for? That's Gaelic,
Have
right?
you ever heard of the author Tom Robbins? Yeah. It was written in dust by somebody, and you know, real serious moment, and it means lighten up.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what it said in the book. I don't know for sure. That's another piece on the wall right here.
I read one of his books recently. I'm not trying to think which one it was.
Oh, did you read Skinny Legs and All?
No.
Jitterbug Perfume?
No. I'm just trying to remember. Wait, time goes by, so maybe sometime.
So I originally bought the place with my sister. Good entrance right there. My sister and my mother. We were all living in apartments. And my sister had one child. And she proceeded to remarry her first husband and have 3 more kids. So I kind of moved to the Milk House. Then I got married, moved here. And you know, little by little, we're getting it together. It's real nice here.
Beautiful
Real
piece of
nice
property.
here.
Right. Nice little barn there. Still have an antique car.
I'd really like to,
Is that sort of a take? It's about the shape of the Rosetta Stone.
well, it's
You remember the Rosetta Stone looks like, right?
No, actually, I'm thinking, no, I don't.
The Rosetta Stone
I know
is
of
where
it,
they
yeah.
had
I found
the
some
ancient
pictures.
Greek,
Right.
the modern Greek, and the Egyptians. So that was how they were able to decipher the Egyptian hieroglyphics. It was
Oh,
developed-
right,
it was-
right.
It was a lieutenant in Napoleon's army was the one that found it and understood its significance. That's very nice. That's very nice. I like that one. Mm-hmm.
See, I just started this type of work, and it's like, these are almost all experiments, and what I think I've created a language, and I can show you some of the things that, I like this, if you like something that's subtle. I see this as being like,
Well, see that, so that doesn't attract me. That's feminine. That's too feminine. That's got
Right.
too feminine character.
What, this?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, this I see as like a landscape when I was out in Oregon.
That one I like better. Now you're doing some more work here.
Yeah,
Oh,
put
right.
it in there.
Super. Yeah, really nice.
See, this is different. Now look at this detail.
Mhm.
Look at this kind of detail that's happening here.
Right.
I call it hyper-organic realism because it has all the elements. It isn't you're
Right.
trying to make a haystack with 800 strokes of a brush. This has like 8,000 things, or or whatever it is.
Change the first word. Make that micro instead of
Micro?
hyper. Hey, this is
Micro.
great. Holy smokes. You're going to convert this into a gallery? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Birds flying around.
Yeah. This is the rest of the job. I'm doing it all along this hard. Millstone. There's a wood piece that I did.
Where do you do the finishing?
Huh?
Where do you do the finishing?
Where?
Yeah.
Downstairs. It's just rubbed the urethane. This side this has to be done. More. This is, it's not a bad finish.
No.
You know, there's no wax or anything on
I
it.
use wildflower. I like it.
I rubbed it on, that's all.
Oh, you just rub it on,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah,
French
rubbed it on.
polish.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And actually, instead of sanding it in between here, we did some scraping. That was nice. Good to do. Let's see up here.
It's a beautiful
And I
space.
want to put a facade on here, to give it, be more textured and stuff.
What do you like, a stucco?
They're stucco, I originally thought I was gonna do some kind of thing that looked like stone, but I don't like look-likes. Plastic that looks like stitched leather is not my bag, if it's plastic, use it for what it is. Let's see up here, so this is going to be, now this young fellow just moved in, he's gonna finish his room off for. And, so don't, see.
About 60 feet long. Yeah.
Well, we could have some wrap party up here when we get this show going.
It wouldn't be the first one.
Naked carpentry assistants running around all over the place.
I did, there was a shoot here before. I don't think I told you, but the Columbia Film School was here.
Uh-huh.
So I have an idea of pretty much what, entails. And it's like this shop, well, we haven't been down there yet. It's, this Charlie, Michael's brother made those chairs. Try to sit in that chair. It's made out of those spools. Kind of an interesting chair.
Doesn't rock.
He has rockers.
Yeah.
And swings. And three-seaters and...
Unique use of that, old spool thing,
Yeah. Those are powers of the spools, yeah. Well, what I'd like to do is, somehow I want to sound damper this room.
Well, what are you going to do with the ceiling there?
Yeah.
Sheet like that,
Where?
insulated? What you could do put the insulation up and then just put pegboard. So go into that.
Is open, because I didn't want to lose the whole idea of how big the barn was. I mean, but it was, you know, for a utility, it was just a big room.
I can tell you right now that if you put some sort of a surface on there, it'd look even bigger. Would look even bigger.
Is that one of those famous walls that you can see through but doesn't leak in a rainstorm? I mean, where you see the,
Unless you get
Where-
wind out of the south.
where you see the light
Well,
coming in?
I'm going to build a whole another wall
Right.
and leave that, you know, well, that'll be insulated too. And the
Well,
other,
this barn isn't that old. This barn must have been made around 1920, 1910.
this was built by yeah.
Great country.
Great location.
Why don't you put a hangman's noose there?
Huh?
Put a hangman's noose there.
Someone around here might use it. So when I cut these arches out of the plywood, at the same time, before I got the excess material out of the shop, I fabricated these tables, scrap, and the bases as well, which I'm just using now in this long one.
Right,
But that was, even before I moved the scrap out, so that was kind of neat.
right.
This is like a hieroglyphic.
Yeah, that's almost has a religious quality to
Yeah,
it.
this is some of these. Some of the depth in here is.
Right, there they are.
And like I say, a lot of this is a lot of experimentation. I really haven't been able to, you know, I'm doing this stuff and I'm doing, you know, trying to do this place, but I really, you know, I have a lot of places to go.
It'd be interesting because the Mayans were probably the best plasterers in the world. There's plaster on the walls of their ancient tombs that goes back 2,000 years. It's perfect.
Sure,
Perfect.
sure. There's a lot of 900-year-old houses in Europe that were plaster. I had a friend that restored, I think some of the Greek columns are plaster.
Well, the Romans were great plasterers.
Yeah.
You know.
Plasters, see, that fellow Lou Aiello, the sculptor, taught me about plastering. When I was hired by GE, I was basically the plaster person. Like all the slow cookers, remember they came out with a slow cooker? Well, I turned down the originals in plaster. You know, you build the outside and you turn it around and it's like a hand lathe. So I was really hired as the plaster person.
And as you go through the countryside there, the Indians still slake the lime. That's what you make plastic from, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
kicks it over.
Yeah. We can go down this way.
Yep.
Reminds me of walking through the jungles when we were doing the video.
Gotta show them the
Oh, yeah.
video. Be
Look at
interested
this
in
pond,
that.
look at this pond. My God, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Oh,
Can you believe that? At Home Depot. I had to pick it up.
Sure.
I mean,
It's
this,
almost like bird's eye maple.
right, this is resaw time on this stuff.
Right.
I mean, to make something, you know, it's very
Sure.
and unique with the other knots.
Right, exactly.
Look at
Right.
that.
What's that causes that effect?
Could be a
A
disease.
disease
something,
or
right?
something?
Yeah.
So I actually had, this is a catch-all now. I'm gonna clean this out, and if I get that fly with that project that I have up there, I'd like to put the whole setup in here. Then I have a little,
Oh, before we leave, you should show Bill that wood that you got.
oh yeah, I like these. You like this? I got two of these. In fact, the other one's more magnificent than this one. These places. The other one is,
Oh, knees, natural foam knees.
yeah.
You gotta use those structurally someplace.
Oh yeah, this one is real nice. Yeah, this is from that lignum vita from was it Brookside? No. Watch your head here. And this is a prize piece here. This is worth some bucks. You should try to lift this thing. It's snake wood. And I know it's 100 years old. the aristocrat of walking canes
Mhm,
were snakewood and I guess
Right.
piccolos.
Which was a very
Yeah.
prevalent piece of wood.
You got kind of those? These are very heavy.
What is it, Papinga?
I don't think it is. Is there something like subpoena or
Sapodilla.
could it be that?
I don't know. You gotta take a look at it. You really can't tell till you get down to the,
It's heavy.
yeah, right.
There isn't. That's very old too.
Yeah. Sapodilla, from this way, Sapodilla.
And this is ladywood.
That's an old one too.
Yeah. He was a wood collector. He was a wood collector. I'll show you that door for the shop. I have to change it. There's not enough headroom. This door was here. I'm going to put this in for the shop door.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
In
that's
fact, we go
beautiful.
ahead. I may put that in there. I think it's perfect
Oh, yeah,
for there.
that's really
And
nice.
it was here. And it's a natural, you know.
Sure it is.
Beautiful. Yeah, that'll really
Yeah.
make that.
Because I did a project here. I made a display for stores that displayed this product. Open Up was a jar opener, and I made 1,000 of them. And I had to bring in like 200 sheets of melamine, heavy stuff. And you know, if there's going to be people coming in, I've got to do that project to get the headroom because someone cracks their head.
Put some foam around it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's something I want to do. This is a little.
Oh, that's nice.
This is a little room I have for my
Yeah.
daughter, and my wife uses it. This is an interesting piece. Oh yeah. Do you know John Steiner in Norwalk?
No.
No.
That's fine.
Greg knows it. Well, my wife did a piece.
It's right there on the Poets Road, that little place.
This is called
Oh, look at
Who Ordered the MX Missile?
Not me.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, that is fantastic. You want to get a shot at the moment? No, that's good. That is really something. Gee, this is what your ex-wife did, huh?
Right. Not quite ex-wife.
Oh, boy.
You have.
We ran out of
Do
class.
you have audio there?
Yeah, I bet.
Isn't that beauty?
Yeah, well, see, that's very much like what they used to do in Switzerland. You know, I mean, you know, Germany and Switzerland, southern Germany.
Right.
That is good. Very good perspective.
This, I lived with these people. They were Finns or Norwegians. They had a little cottage. They had 2 saunas, and one sauna could keep 17 people. Give you an idea,
Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna change my iris here.
Come and see my prize garden here. My bamboo.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, shit, yeah.
This
I
year,
used to grow
look at
bamboo where I
this. This is like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And the biggest it was before was about, well, you can see the first growth in there. But now I'm getting some stuff and getting nice
Wow.
nice stuff there.
How big will that grow?
This particular piece, I don't know. It's still growing. I'd say about 20 feet, but now I have a conflict here. And what I'm trying to do is I own into here and it's swampy there. You know. Have nice sound. Now I get my bass notes growing there. And, that's fun. And I have the fellow up there has this automatic electronic tuning. Tune. So then I'll push that stuff out. This is my there's a little white garden here. All white flowers. Some of them are as well. Just a piece of birds and stuff.
Henry Moorish.
Huh?
Henry Moorish.
Henry Moore. Henry Moore. Tuesday last of the next major product. I put a new roof on it, but we gotta tear the whole front out of it. It's so much shit. Not issuing Yes, I used to deal in these beams too.
Mm-hmm.
What a pain in the neck that is. You know what? Did you ever hear of a guy named, he died, his last name was Kaiser, Dennis Kaiser? He used to deal in them up in Oxford.
I know some guy upstate New York.
It's too hard to deal with that stuff.
Oh, yeah, because
And
people come in and you gotta spend more time to have them looking, well, it's got a notch here and I don't want the notch there. Forget it.
Oh, and matching them all
Right,
up,
right.
and when they're hand hewn, you know, it's gotta
Got
be the
the
same
color.
hue man, right?
Yeah, same age.
A fellow down the street gets me all these are all exotic woods, and they come in pallets. He said, you know, they gave it to me for next to nothing. I had a whole
Get
bunch
some more
of
of those knees over there, right?
Yeah, what they call it, hackmatack, for
Right.
barges and stuff.
Right.
Putting together. But I said, geez, this is pretty nice stuff, you know, they're pallets. He said, well, you should see the pallets that come in for the bosses.
Mm.
That's the way to get it, you know what I'm saying? There's a, you
Well,
know.
when they bring the other.
You know, I have to get into this. I have a great fingers. Rather than-
Yeah, that's what the Japanese do when they build their temples.
I like that. You know, and I like the irregularities. I like the knots in the wood.
I did some work for Nelson Rockefeller on the estate. Did all the outdoor furniture, and he had a bunch of Japanese temple builders come over and build this home for he and Happy before they got married.
That book, that Japanese guy up there did the interiors, I think. What's his name? Nakasone? Yeah, he did, I think, a lot of their interiors.
I did all the outdoor work for him.
Now, Bill, don't laugh at my boat.
But I'll tell you where they should spend time on it.
I know your answer already. Actually, this road just went up there.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, when they dry out this much,
Yeah, well, I've been putting rocks on. That's the only thing I could do with it.
well, the thing is, what happens to wood loses elasticity.
It's brittle.
Yeah. They won't expand at the back.
Think it's a lost case? Well, the people that, you know, I have chances with them. Yeah, I think. Yeah?
They use wood.
I don't know. Cost me $200 to get it here. That's all I have to have all the hardware, everything. I mean, just these things are worth $20, right? So I saved it. I had a place. I didn't want to see it get chainsawed up. The guy had it down there, and he had his hardest, and I don't.
You know what it cost you to fix that boat up? You did all the work yourself? $20,000.
What do you say?
Because I
And
know.
materials?
And materials and all the refitting.
Thing down here, too.
See, half your
Beautiful line,
the cabin's gone. You know, just to work on the cabin and the interior. Good.
You'd be better off starting from scratch, probably. You could use the kale and all that stuff.
I mean, I'm a builder. I know what some things should be torn down and started. My brother-in-law cuts paths here, but gets to run around.
How many acres you got here?
Actually, there's only 2 3/4, but it appears there's a lot of sky for Reading.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah, because you're...
this is like 3 acre zoning over there, so we're 2 3/4, but it's a bigger field.
Yeah, because a lot of Reading is like woods and stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's an old orchard in there.
The original people here, the Lions, who built this house, originally millwrights. So I understand. I'll show you the garden over there. I'll show you the. You guys aren't in a terrible hurry. I can give you the.
Cook's door.
Yeah, because you'd probably enjoy the inside of it.
Yeah.
Because it's old and has the original picture.
Fun.
That's about it, I believe.
You know, this
this clematis just came out.
Oh yeah.
Aren't they beautiful?
I think they really are.
They're magnificent.
They
It's
come in
just all
such
of
a
our
variety
poppies.
of colors too, you know.
Oh yeah, we have
Blues and the pinks and the
yeah.
reds. Oh God.
So this is okay, Ben.
Bow and arrow.
Yeah, that's a new one. Do you ever hear of a root stout? She's kind of the mother of mulch gardening. So she used
Maybe
to
I
live down-
might have heard of them.
she lives down the street.
I've
That's
watched
all
some
they
of those
do.
garden shows.
That's the way they do it.
Right.
My sister does it over there.
Huh.
And not too much happening yet. There's some this is a little strawberries put in. I think there are different herbs. Goes
Smells good in here.
Mm-hmm.
that's my contribution. Potatoes in the corner. I'll tell you, I think I'm getting the bug though. To plant a little. I like the planting. You know.
Something very, very, very close to the earth.
Right.
Carol, Missy, I'm taking your tour here. You should be the tour guide for this one. And nice foxglove coming. You can walk through here. All these lupins.
Yeah, they're nice.
There's a lot of different color lupins too.
Mm. Boy.
You know, and there's different stuff coming up all the time. And, I'm aware.
Well, actually, you know, the cabinet maker's bench, I'm going to set this up so I can record any good ideas that happen. The cabinet maker's bench was just a title that I thought up, basically. So, I mean, in a sense, it's, you know, I mean, there may be a confusion. I mean, you're right. And when you think of it in terms of like, well, geez, you know, when people tune into it, they may think they're going to see, you know, some really complex, fine, detailed cabinet making stuff.
But later on they will.
Right.
But the thing is that what is objectionable to norms is
So,
that
Paul, I'll
it
catch
doesn't
you over
follow through.
Okay.
There are a lot of missing steps to the guy that is not familiar with the woodworking procedure. And that's what I want to do. I want to fill in those missing steps that aren't there. The average
Right.
guy is going to say, well, yeah, okay, now, yeah, I can see how you do that, but how do I get there? And an awful lot is taken for granted. Now, whether or not that will be acceptable to the viewing public or not, I don't know.
So it's geared to a lot of hobbyists.
Yeah. Guys that have a lot of experience already. Now,
Like
neighbors,
myself, I could.
You can follow
I can-
through, because you've already done the procedure many times yourself. But then.
Well, I'm sure there's things that I would definitely be learning because I haven't had the training.
There's a couple of articles that
Oh, yeah.
prompted me
Oh,
to
I can. As soon as I saw it written in here, I could understand that whole premise to
Right.
to establishing the show. I thought it was great.
yeah, I think this little outline thing that you wrote is pretty darn good. I mean, it
Wow.
gives me a lot of ideas.
Well, good.
As far as your involvement in it, I mean, I'm wide open to any suggestions. Like I said, you know, I mean, I think in terms of a location, yes, it's great, but in terms of a resource, I mean, you may be able to contribute to the show in some other way. I mean, which you already have in terms of ideas and stuff. So, you know, I haven't finalized in my head. Originally, I just saw like Bill on camera explaining, you know, a procedure. Now, there's another possibility, which would be to bring a second guy in, so like Bob Gilliard and Norm Abrams, which could be you, and you could say, well, Bill, now how does this, you know, why is this joint like this instead of like this or something? Which opens up maybe more of a possibility of introducing different elements into it. I'm not sure how you feel about that or how you feel about
No,
that, but I'm just throwing that out.
Well, I really feel that it's going to be one of those things where we'll just have to go along and see how it goes, you know, view it. We have the opportunity to do the pilot review it, change it, and so forth.
That's
And then
right.
see how the whole pattern flows out, and get rejoinders from guys that are professionals in the field. That's the
Well,
only way I
that's
can
true.
see it.
We're in a unique position in the sense that the tape and equipment is available to me. So we're not, like, I don't have to go out particularly and spend, $40,000, hire this whole big crew, and then say, shit, man, we should have thought of this and we should have thought of that. In retrospect, it would have been better if we tried it this way.
Right.
And maybe a smart idea, and you would mention, and I had toyed with the idea of shooting so another possibility would be to shoot a test, which would then mean that we would have a second shooting. In other words, instead of trying to shoot the full-blown pilot. But then I started thinking about that, and I said, well, come up and do a screen. You've never worked on camera. You have worked on camera some, but Bill never has. And we said, well, maybe we should shoot a test first. And I said, well, what the hell? If you're gonna shoot a test, you might as well just come up and shoot the bloody thing. And then if it works, great. We don't know if this is gonna work. I mean, we don't know whether the flow is gonna be there, the synergy is gonna be there. I think it is.
Well, I was just wondering, do you think, you're gonna be teaching them television, you know what I'm saying? Which is it.
That really doesn't bother me. I think that what we have to do in the original test pilot is to create a feeling of a need. In other words, Norm Abrams has his show. It's perfect. It works perfectly for him. It works perfectly for all of his sponsors and everything else. And it doesn't work, as you can see by those articles in the paper, for an awful lot of people who are experienced, who say, hey, you're missing a lot. There's a lot of stuff that isn't here. So the niche that we're talking about fulfilling is the utilization of fulfilling that niche. Now, whether it's going to be spread out to such in boring detail, because it does take time to learn the trade, that it may not work. I mean, we may have to shortcut. So it's one of those
I think the
things
test really though has to lay down a lot of groundwork in the format. How you're presented.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
you know what I'm saying? How,
I agree with
who
that.
is this? Is this guy, he's a master cabinet maker, is he kind of a little philosophy or a little historian? It sounds like you're a bit of a historian. I think your whole image, you're gonna try, you'd hope to get that on the pilot. To get a feel for what it's gonna be.
I agree with that. We're going to have to put some thought into the structure of the show and
Well,
what
of
we're
course,
going to say.
let me interject for a moment, because I believe that you can create the image by words on a piece of paper, and then they can view it. In other words, you can go through. I'm talking about the pilot now, to see if the pilot works, see if it makes sense. The historical background and everything else can be put on a piece of paper. In other words, we're going to be going to syndicated people,
Right.
and they don't need to have you don't need to spend a lot of time on the pilot to tell about the background of the individuals involved. What you want to do is see if I can show you how to do it, and it makes sense, and then you can expand upon that.
Do you have a project ready like
Oh,
that now?
I made all the models up for the. We don't have any pictures here, do we? Do I have my briefcase in the car? Because I've got the pictures.
Well, you did have the briefcase with the old papers in there.
Yes, I have the pictures in that. We'll get that out.
Yeah, I think that there's a combination of, there is going to have to be some structure, like an intro and an out. In other words, hi, I'm Bill Fernchild. Welcome to the, show or whatever. You have to say something.
You need to establish the look.
Yeah, you have to have.
Miami Vice, they got the color. You gotta have the look.
You have to have some kind of format.
I don't know,
of
you know what I'm saying? You have to say where you are, where are you?
Well-
A shop, and not you're saying you're here, but it's not his home, you're not gonna lie, you gotta, a couple of those things have to be just laid out, so when you start,
That's an interesting question, because you see, what happens is that the shop itself becomes a location that people now say, wow, where is this shop anyway? Is this Bill's shop, or whose shop is this? But I think in terms of really the first show, people probably will assume that this is his shop. If he doesn't say,
right, exactly.
I'm at Don's shop,
No,
they'll
yeah,
just
right,
assume
right.
that it's his shop. But
Right.
I think we may be able to use that to some advantage. But I do think you're right in the sense, my feeling is that we should have basically the simplest possible structure, which formatted would be some kind of introduction, or Bill's either walking around or doing something, and he says, "Hi, I'm Bill Pritchard, da-da-da, this week we're gonna do this, the purpose of the show is we're gonna try to," so we do some kind of introduction. And then to illustrate some of these points, we're gonna get into,
These were prototypes that I made up because what we plan on doing eventually is setting up a plant up in Belize. Because the lumber down there is nominal cost-wise. So all of these fold, they all fold, even the Adirondack chair. The Adirondack chair's 11 inches high when it folds up. So we can ship all the stuff knocked down.
Right.
And it's been designed that way.
big cat right over your shoulder, Bill.
Oh,
I'll
That's
push them
like-
away if you don't
pardon?
You push the cat right now.
Oh, I know.
What's the carving here?
Oh, that's a little Mayan glyph. I'll put that in there. We'll bring the chair up the next time, some of the things. We were gonna do that today, and I said, what the hell are we doing later?
No, these are good.
But what we have to decide, I think, basically, is what projects we want to do for the first one.
Oh, we'll do this table right here. That's simple. Doesn't take a lot of time. That's folding table. You can sit on it, it's so strong.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Folds up nicely.
the key is, I think that's a good idea to, even though, like we're saying, the cabinet maker's bench, and maybe you don't have to use the cabinet maker's bench to make this particular table, right? But we want to keep the project simple so we can expand into the more of the tool use and the safety and all the other.
Oh, right. But I mean, it
stuff.
doesn't, a guy with a bandsaw or a jigsaw can make this table, so you don't need
Right.
a lot of tools to do it.
Right.
And it works out very nicely too, because it doesn't take a lot of time to make it.
Mhm.
And this big table here, this one here, that is just doweled together. Just fits together, and it's so strong you think it's glued up. Right here.
I am.
Really fantastic. Worked out very well. This is how the chair folds up. You see. So that they can be shipped,
Right.
knocked down, and you don't have to spend. And then this is a copy of a Civil War chair, a campaign chair. Right.
That's great. Like a beach chair.
Yeah, they're all, it's all outdoor furniture.
Yeah.
I think though that one has to be redesigned slightly, doesn't it, to build the
Well,
heavier
yeah,
specs?
that's right. Well, I made that out of mahogany, and it's not hard enough to do some of the hardwood.
Right. But my feeling is keep it simple, basic intro, outro, and a project that you're gonna do, and through that project, you're talking about the different tools, their uses, how, and get into the philosophy and all that. But peripherally too, like the little tips we were talking about, in other words, in every show, I think, if you can come up with a couple of little time-saving things, like, well, when you're using your, So, I mean, that's it. I mean, it's a pretty simple concept. There's things in here that, you've written down that I haven't even really gotten into thinking about, but I think it's true that, Bill can basically ad-lib a lot of it. I think we should come up with maybe a list similar to this, which has things that maybe he can talk about, because you don't want to get up on camera and say, well, now what am I going to say?
Well, I guess if Bill could, write it down himself, and someone could be there and say, well, to Bill, you might, you missed something or
Right.
whatever. I think
But I think in terms of the structure of the how we shoot the projects, you have to think about in terms of how you want to build this for television. In other words, you have.
Well, it's simple, because in my own mind, I can go through the whole procedure. I mean, I know what it is. I just write it down, that's all. And then you can take out certain portions. I mean, for instance, you don't need to go through the thickness plane or anything like that. You can just show, you don't have to spend a lot of time. Same thing with a saw. When you get to certain portions of the base, that's a little saw work, but not much.
I'm not sure that it's bad that, you have to use these different things. I mean, it's like we can always, my feeling is that we come up and we have like a couple of projects, like maybe the chair, the table, you know, maybe 3 different things or something, and we spend a couple of days, and what we have to have, which we will have to do beforehand, is have the pieces ready. In other words, normally, like the way, which I still gotta get that Stanley Tool video to show you how we did that, but I did a couple of how-to shows for Stanley Tool. Basically, what they had was every piece was made and cut to dimension. So in other words, it could just be assembled. And then they had the blank stock that piece was made out of. So in terms of, actually now while you're there with the camera, the guy would say, okay, now you take your ruler, you measure 18 inches here to here, and you measure 3 inches this way. You mark it out, you take your scribe, you scribe it, then using your Stanley, of course then using your Stanley coping saw, or whatever it was, and he would start the cut. Then we would immediately, because you're not going to show the guy sawing for 10 minutes with this thing, we'd immediately cut to the finished piece. Now you've got your finished cut piece. The next step is you build the back brace. The back brace you build out of a piece of clear pine stock, you measure, mark it, and it really worked out pretty well then he would show the assembly of the thing, gluing it up, how it was all glued and clamped and everything. And at the end of the show, you come out with a finished piece.
With a simple project, there's in the explanation of how to make it, there's only so much to say, and there's a lot of time to fill. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
there's a lot of airtime.
Well, that's my question. Is this table too simple, or is it
No,
ideal?
not for the
Building
pilot.
with that,
Not
no.
for the pilot. I mean, if you go into the chair, if I had to make a chair, right? The chair takes me about 2 days to make. But that was a chair that I had to do all the structural figuring it out, how it worked, and everything else. But if I could take the chair that I have right now, run my forms and so forth, shapes off the chair, then it would take me a day to make it. That's all, labor-wise. A day. That's 8 hours.
Right. I mean, that's the day. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
So for the first go around, I don't think you should try and get a project that would take a day to do. If you're going to try and show how to do it.
Well, no, if it's going to take a day, I mean, what's the running time? 18, 20 minutes?
28 minutes.
28 minutes. I mean, you're not going to be able to do that all on the air. You know, so that it's like, where to cut. I mean, that's one reason to go with the simpler, like you say, a simpler project. But how much content is going to be in there?
Well, I want to show layout first of all. That's the first thing. Most people get lost on the layout. I want to eventually bring in conception. Conception, how to design your own furniture, not to copy somebody else's furniture. Now, then as you go into the detail, there are certain things that are constant. Whether you make a design of your own or you use somebody else's design, those constants will always be there. The joints you can use and how to do the joints. Those are constants. But you have to create.
Birds are buzzing the cat. See that?
They're not there this in the garage.
The cat's like, meow. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how much we can script of this in terms of like, I know there's a lot of stuff in your head.
I'm going to have a content, a list of contents, otherwise you can dick around for a whole day wondering what you're doing. I have to work up a schedule of what has to be done, right? Structurally, physically,
Right.
and then we just analyze it from the. Do you want to pick this?
Oh no, go ahead.
You have to analyze it from a standpoint of, well, now, this takes so long. Actually.
But you know what, I think even more, it's
Then
not, see, we can compress anything on television, right? In other words, what would take you a whole day, we could easily do in 5 minutes if we wanted to on TV. I mean, Norm Abrams builds armoires with huge crown moldings in like 28 minutes. I mean, with leaded glass panes.
That's what they're objecting to.
That's one of the things.
Yeah.
But what I'm more concerned is if you come up with an outline of structurally what has to be done, that can be compressed or expanded as we need time.
Yeah, if you
Right.
punched a whole bunch of them, I could do a lot of the work for you. then,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Right, but what I'm more concerned is the content that's gonna weave around this structure, because that's gonna be the soul of the show. In other words, while you're showing the building of this arm, then you can get into, now remember, when you're measuring something, or you're drilling something, or you're gluing something, all these tips and all these things that you were just talking about, you know, from the way to do it, the way to approach things, that's what we really want to get at.
All right, Craig, look. The reason I want to do the table is because you're going to lay it out. You're going to have to show them how to lay it out. Most guys don't know that. A lot of guys don't
Right,
know that.
right.
So now, that's a simple job because it doesn't require a lot of layout. The chair does require a lot of layout.
Right.
And we don't want to get involved in that. We want to get the pilot done as soon as possible.
No, but what I'm saying, Bill, is I'm talking about content-wise. If we build this table, what I'm worried about is that you might end up being, we can edit this together in 10 minutes, that you can show this table how it's done in 10 minutes. So we want to make sure that we have enough material to fill out, 28 minutes.
Well, that's what he's saying. There's the fillers like the layout.
right.
And, you know, I mean, even simple. I don't.
But in other words-
Even how, like I say, preparing to work. That's a big one. I mean, half the jerks out there
Right.
don't even know.
Layout
Right.
sticks, all that
Layout.
stuff. There's a whole lot of
Sure.
stuff.
Right.
All right,
I mean, there's
so-
tremendous
well,
amount.
great, but see, I'm not a woodworker,
Right.
so
Right.
whatever's in your head, I don't know
Yeah,
about.
and I'll tell you, if you have some nice colloquial way of saying something, okay, and if you think it's all going to come out ad lib, if you say it, you know, when you're talking to him or something like that, someone should write it down, and you might say that. I mean, let's face it, it's,
Right.
you know what I mean? If you find something that's, you know, it's nice, it's going to give you, you know.
Right.
But I
I mean,
think,
I'm sure you're a very colorful person, but you know, every now and then, if you get a nice little phrase that is yours, and that you might forget or something.
He's
You know
got
what I'm
one.
saying? So that
He's
there's
got
a-
one, but I don't think we can use it. He shouldn't mark it the moon. And the other thing, when I talked to Larry Rifkin, you know, we wanted to do a little sort of tongue-in-cheek political commentary, and you know, take a couple of swipes at Norm and stuff. And Larry said, "Jesus, no, you can't do this. This is public television, man. You know, you can't say anything political. Cultural, yes. Political, no. You know, so." But that's the thing. I just don't want. I mean, I think that you should list, and just for yourself. So when you get there, every time you think of something that could be included in this building the table, whether it's how these chisels are done, or why you're cutting the holes this way, or you know, all this kind of stuff, you should make a list, because when we get there, on that shoot day with all the cameras, we go, geez, now what were we going to show here? What were we going to talk about here? And we've got to fill 28 minutes. And you can put a
I'm not
lot
worried
of
about
material
that,
in
Craig.
28
I'm not worried
minutes.
about that.
Okay.
I'm not at all.
So, as it stands now, we're basically you're gonna ad lib, and we're gonna have the 2 cameras, and we're just gonna roll it. And then when you make a mistake or you want to stop, we'll stop and we'll do a pickup, and we'll just keep going, and we'll shoot 2 or 3 hours or however many hours worth of material, and then edit that down. I mean, is that the way we're approaching this thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, the thing is that
No, I'm just
besides
getting it clear in my head.
besides the project, there's got to be an introduction to this thing,
Right.
where we're going to say, well, now we're going to show you how the old cabinet makers were trained in the guild system in Europe. That's basically what it is. What the steps were that they had to go through to learn the art of cabinet making. And that's something that they don't have in this country. They have in a few
Is it
schools.
10 years apprentice program or 5
Yeah,
years?
Right, yeah. When they were 21, they got their journeyman papers. And by the time when they were 18, they had their journeyman papers, but they had already started at the age of 12. And by the time they were 21, maybe they got their master's papers. Usually they didn't get until they were 24, 25. But they were judged, their jobs were judged by other master cabinet makers that were heads of the guild. So they never got their master's papers, usually until their middle 20s. Once in a while, rarely, a really gifted
So I mean,
one
we're
would
going to
get it.
bring up some of these.
Yeah, we'll bring up those little historical data and so forth, because I think the average person, the average guy who wants to work in a shop, that does work in a shop and so forth, is a little bit lost with the whole art of cabinet making as such. And it's a matter of learning certain basic rules. That's what it is. you've got to learn how to use your hand tools. That's when the first 2 or 3 years, they never touch a machine. And still, they're still done the same way in
Well,
Sweden,
you had
Germany,
a
Denmark.
concept before that you had mentioned to me, which I'd like you to elaborate on, when you said that, you know, maybe the first thing we'd teach them how to do something without tools.
Sharpen the tools. I mean, the average guy doesn't even. I've seen guys that are so-called cabinet makers, and they don't even know how to sharpen a chisel.
I'm not a great, I could probably take it.
But that, you know, those are some of the things. For instance,
We
most
don't
guys.
use chisels, we use routers.
Yeah, we'll see.
Router's a fabulous tool.
Yeah,
Fabulous.
sure. I use a lot of routers. But
So you have it in your head that you can talk for 2 or 3 hours on working around this table project, let's say, for starters. Just, I mean, it's
well,
stuff
I mean,
you want to talk.
it'll be a matter of on the first go around. First of all, you know, as you say, I've never worked on a camera before, so I don't know.
Right.
The point remains is that I can easily work 2 or 3 hours because it'll take me that long to build the table.
Yeah, but can you talk for 2 or 3 hours?
Well, you're not talking when the machines are on or anything like that. See, that's where Norm gets away with an awful lot of stuff. Most of the time, the machines are on, he doesn't do that much talking.
Yeah, but that's why we want to, I mean, that's the difference in our show and his show, is that we really want to have some content.
Right.
We don't want to say, you take your router and you make your cut, then you take it and you nail it in here. That's what he does.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying, I think what it is he's selling the show and selling you. There's 2 things there. You know what I'm saying? Like Norm, God, he's very popular, but he's a pretty boring kind of guy.
Mhm.
But you know what I'm saying? You're actually selling 2. I think that the show and yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's 2 things in
Well, I mean, my question is, do you feel that you have enough content and things you want to talk about to fill, you know, a good half hour's worth of time? I'm sure you do, but are you going to?
Well, 20 minutes, another 10 minutes for political commentary.
Yeah, I think the pilot is one thing which we quick, and if you're gonna bank a bunch of these together and do 13 of them, then you gotta have someone who's into continuity,
Right.
someone who's into
historical accuracy,
what's this. I mean, that's
research.
when you get mixed up.
Research
I
and
think
everything
maybe
else, right.
what you're saying is that the simple thing is to get
No,
this other done.
what we have to do is we have to show whether or not I am a viable TV personality.
That's
I mean, the
true.
experience is there. I have that, so there's no question on that score. And whether or not, as a TV personality, I can get across to the audience that I can't see how to do something. Whether I'm a good teacher.
Right.
Well, my father was in the teaching profession for 50 years. He might be able to do something.
Now,
like that. I don't know.
as far as Don is concerned, would you want somebody else working with you on this thing, or do you want to be by
I don't
yourself?
know. I don't know. You know, it's one of those things. I mean, this is a very experimental type project right now.
Right.
And we may find that, yeah, I mean, you know, it may work out. I have no idea.
I had a thought, and not necessarily myself, but I had a thought that, they turn off the camera, like, and a lot of stuff gets done. But if there's like, there was someone, a helper there, that, master craftsman would show you how to do something and say to the guy who's working with something, why don't you go do that? And the guy's drilling the holes in the background, and he's going on like a shop.
Mm-hmm.
That other stuff is, there's something distasteful for me about turning it off and then just all the shit's done already. You know what I'm saying? If you get the, something's happening in the shop, might be.
Yeah, responsibility. I think the thing to do is,
I think it should be straight build to start. I mean, that's the thing. Start off, and that's what head the palette in that direction. I think the other is like building up into something. We don't want to.
Well, I think as a, what I want to do is I want to teach the basics. Is if I had some kid off the street coming in and said he wants to be a cabinet maker, how do I become a cabinet maker? I mean, I had that all the time. I mean, I had 3 master cabinet makers, 1 from Austria, 2 from Germany. I had guys from Denmark and Sweden that were young students that I worked with the American Scandinavian Foundation. They would come in here, and then I'd sponsor them for a year, and they'd learn. And their fathers owned huge furniture plants in Europe, and they came over here to see what the American
I think
technology
there's
was like.
something to be said about having, or at least leaving the avenue open for guests or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
I think so.
That's
I think having, like I think that someone with my particular experience would be a pretty damn good apprentice at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And ask more intelligent questions or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Not or that are more applicable to that thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you know, I think I think that would be a good format. You know, to actually, you know, it's like, oh well, you know, you're playing like this, and the guy comes, and you know, he does it. No, not quite like just a little like this.
Right.
Where you're going like this, and you're doing it right. That don't mean shit. If you see someone doing it a little off or something like that, you know, there's a whole kind of
Or even-
viability to that.
Even using a saw, you know.
Right.
Using a saw is just like using a pool cue. You know, until you get used to it, you know, you get your elbow out here, you know, you're supposed to keep everything in one line when you cut, and then you can,
Pretty good at
you
some
can cut
boards.
boom.
I got a few words.
Well, listen, I can still cut a board square up and back, still today. Yeah, that takes a little time to learn how to do that.
I'll tell you
That's
something
so
that
on
I'll tell you
board.
something that a lot of tradesmen out there don't know. And it's that if you have a sharp handsaw, you can work faster sometimes than
Than a
having the
jigsaw.
skill saw and all
Right,
that goddamn
absolutely.
exposed to danger, exposed to
Right,
noise,
right.
exposed to dust.
Right? You can
And,
chop your
and it's
fingers
like,
off.
oh, we got to cut a couple boards. Oh, wait a second, I'm gonna go get the extension
Yeah,
cord.
right,
Where's
right.
the plug? And you know, where you take out your
Exactly.
handsaw, draw the line, and you're done.
Right.
And they don't, and people don't know that about
That's right.
the workers out there. They don't know that. They don't know what you could do with a chisel on the job. I mean, you can be, you know, you can do a lot.
Plane. Most
Right,
guys don't know how to use
right.
planes right.
Yeah,
And I mean, that's one of the things that I told you. I said, I want to get back into the basics, the hand tools.
okay, but
Most people don't know
what I
that.
think you ought
But
to do,
that comes along each phase.
what I
as-
think
as
you ought
Mel
to do is
said.
write down an outline for yourself and
Oh,
me
yeah, I intend to.
about what you're gonna talk about, so at least when we get in here, we'll have we can plan, you know,
Yeah, well, I had.
camera-wise and
Yeah, I had
lighting-wise and
some-
everything else, how we're gonna do this.
I know what I had it in here now.
You know, I had a crazy thought about, do you ever see these cooking shows?
Oh, sure.
Where they have that,
Oh,
the
right.
camera's interesting.
The what, the overhead
Overhead.
camera?
Yeah,
Julia
yeah.
Childs,
Yeah.
then sort of
You know, I think
Jeff
that
Smith.
because, you know, that's the way you're seeing yourself
Right.
work.
Right. Well, you know, it's unusual that you talk about safety in here, because that's one of the biggest things that the average, I don't know whether I have that in here or not. That's one of the average tool manufacturer doesn't tell you about all the safety features, because, listen, I lost it, but every cabinet maker eventually loses a digit. I mean, that's part of the whole damn deal. But safety was one of the most important features that I wanted to discuss. I guess I'm
Well,
not
yeah, if this thing floats, I mean, you gotta
Well-
have everything checked out that you do. I mean,
It's like
you know, you work
kickbacks on
those
the
things, you
saw.
gotta wear glasses,
Right.
right?
Well, I never did. I mean, I had my.
I know, but I mean, on the
Right.
show, it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know.
Sure, right.
Yeah, that's really true too. I mean, now I don't know if Abrams does or not, does he?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Well, he wears
always
them
has.
anyway.
Whenever,
He wears
yeah,
them anyway.
right.
Uh-huh.
Well, here's one of them. Where the hell I have the rest of them?
I'll tell you, those guards for the table size, I mean, those things are dangerous.
Oh,
I-
shapeless. You don't
All
have
those,
to shave it.
all
Right.
those safety devices are dangerous. That's where your fingers get. You know, really, you can't see where they are.
Kickbacks and up. Right. I thought I had a whole bunch of them. I guess I left some of them. Just one. Oh, someone's got some chicken.
What
Lobster.
a peaceful up here, isn't it?
Oh, lovely. Any deer tick up here?
Yeah, that's where we have all those guinea ones.
Yeah.
No, they're around. Gotta be careful.
You're darn right.
That's something they really don't know about is Lyme disease. They hear about it, but I don't think anyone knows anything about it.
It's like AIDS.
Right, exactly.
I guess I left some of those. Well, that was just one.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a whole bunch of. I don't have that one.
Yeah, I like some of the things that he brought in.
I mean, how to build kitchen cabinets. That could be 3 and 4 series, 3 and 4 shows. Take some guys' kitchen cabinets and build the kitchen cabinets. But I mean, this is so.
I think, what I would like to do is, I mean, how long do you think it's gonna take to get all your thinking in line in terms of, what you wanna attempt
For
to
the
do?
first show?
Yeah.
I could do that tomorrow or the next day.
Okay. Don, what do you need in terms of, you know, us coming up here and, doing this? I mean,
Time-wise?
yeah.
Have to install this job next week. Probably the week after next.
Okay.
Yeah, we could get it ready.
Or depending on what, I should be here. Because then
Oh,
everything will be
definitely.
moved out of there.
Definitely.
And, things in the shop itself that are hanging on the legs,
Right.
it can be taken down. You might want to fashion new doors for my, for underneath my
Right.
counters there. No. But, you can, video's easy to,
I
you
mean,
can fake video.
you know,
I mean, as far as the backgrounds and
Right.
stuff.
so I would say that, we're looking at being up here probably for like 2 days.
Mhm.
2 pretty long days, shooting schedule wise. Like I say, I can't, all I can say as far as we get the show sold and everything, I mean, certainly, I'd like to get you involved. And certainly I like, as I say, there's a location fee, and if you want to get involved in the building of the projects or researching, I mean, there'll be plenty of room for involvement, and I don't know how you're gonna, we'll have to see how it all works out, like
Well,
that.
I'm satisfied with just being the location, and then help you out and be the GM.
One of the things that we can do is after we do this first table, we can show them the other projects that are coming up, type of thing, give an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, that's probably.
Well, Greg said that, if you're gonna set up to do that table, you might wanna do one of the other little projects while we're all set up. Maybe it'll come off better, I think that if you're prepared to do one
Well, I
or
mean,
two, if you're gonna be here, you can almost insert in the same,
Well, for instance, the Civil War chair, once you cut it, it takes maybe 2 hours, not even 2 hours to put it together.
Yeah, but in terms of, well, that's another thing, we're gonna have to prepare whatever projects wood-wise to have a cut
Right.
piece and
That's-
a blank
that's-
piece.
That would be done before we have to do it at the same time. But
No, you can't, you can't do it during shooting, you have to do it beforehand, is what I'm saying, that all has to be done.
Why? Why can't you do it
that's what
simultaneously?
the project is mostly, isn't it?
Yeah, take it from scratch and do
In
it.
other words, if you're gonna cut up some slats, you may wanna,
I can
1 by 8 by 8 feet that you're gonna cut up, that's part of the project. You're saying you just have to have this.
that table
That's right.
takes maybe 4 hours of work to do it from start to finish.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So you might as well do everything at once,
Yeah.
Do the shooting, the
Oh, I get you, okay.
Take it
That's
from
that's
the-
really
take it
part of,
from
that's
the-
most of
yeah,
the project.
right.
But I know what you're saying, but, like when you,
Okay, I've
when you
never
have,
done
well,
it
when you
that
have more projects, you gotta have an 8-foot piece of 1
Well,
by
yeah,
8.
in other words,
yeah,
if a guy, if you have one of those,
you just go down to the lumberyard, you photograph
well, like if you're
bringing
doing,
in the piece of wood from the lumberyard or something like that.
well,
And
if
this
you're
is
doing
it.
like,
We're gonna
if
make
you're
it.
doing like one of those chairs that has like, 45 mortise and
That-
tenons or something, you're not gonna sit there and
No,
spend.
no. Well, that takes more time.
Right.
But I'm talking for the pilot project, that you pick out the simplest job, because then you can determine whether or not the TV personality and the system that we use for doing it is right or wrong.
Mhm.
Then you can change it.
Well, that,
Go to the next
thing
project.
is, right. What I'm saying is if you have the blanks and the wood already cut beforehand, right, you have the finished piece beforehand, the only difference is when you're actually building it and you're doing the actual sawing, which will probably, most of that will be cut out anyway. If it's gonna, let's say if you have a 10-minute saw cut, you're only gonna show the first 5 seconds of it and the last 5 seconds of it, or 10 seconds or whatever. Because you're not gonna show the entire cutting procedure, which is 10 minutes long.
take long at all
Okay.
on the table.
All right, so we don't
Yeah.
have to pre-do anything then?
No, we just have to have the materials. So I'll have to pick up the materials down in the woodworking store.
Well, that makes it even simpler.
It is very easy. It's not a major That's not major with the chair, it's a different story. That takes a lot of time. There's a lot of time involved there, 'cause you've got
Well,
26 pieces.
I think we ought to try to do at least, I mean, the table's one, try to do at least 2 projects, you know, maybe.
Well, I can make the stand for the table. I never made the stand up. I have the designs for it, but I never made it up. You know, that you hang the
Right.
stack of 4 tables up. I don't see the making of it difficult. What I see that is the unquestioned portion of it is whether or not my ability to come across as a teacher will come through the screen. That's the only area that I see as a question mark.
Okay. Well, let's find out. Let's shoot it and find out. That's the only way we're gonna find this thing out. I think that's the way to do it. Jump into it. I mean, if the table only takes, if the table is only 4 hours to do, then I think we're looking really at
Oh, I
one.
could do it in less than that. I could make it.
No, but I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. But I think,
You
you know, I think you're talking about maybe 2 days work. One day we got to come up and light, and shoot the pre-production stuff, and then maybe the second day we bring in the whole crew with the 2 cameras and everything. And you know, once everything's in place and organized, you know where the bench is going, you know, everything's lit, and the shots have been picked out before we get everybody here. And then the second day I bring, you know, the camera crews up and all the people and the makeup and everybody, and we just go ahead and do it. So really, at that point, let's do it like that. Let's do it as a pilot, 1 shoot day, 1 setup day. You know, keep it light, neat, you know, won't be a heavy shoot schedule, and we'll just see how it comes out and how you look and how the whole thing plays. We may have a winner, we may have a dog, you know, who knows?
Right.
So before we get too heavy into it, maybe
That's it.
that's, you know, the
Because
thing to do.
you may want
And
to
that-
change it in the next.
Well,
you
and
know.
that can serve as our test and as our pilot. In other words, if it comes out that it needs some work and concept-wise and
Right.
production-wise, that we'll consider it the test. If it comes out that, Jesus, this thing looks great, it flies, it works, you look good, then it's our pilot. So that's
P.T. Barnum says a little showmanship goes a long way. So
Yeah.
you still want as much as you can get.
That's right. I mean, well, that's what I'm saying. In other words, Bill, when you start,
I'm
Yeah.
talking about the shop, the look and everything like that. You got to try to do as much as you can. I mean, you didn't shoot it in your cellar. You came to like at least the shop, or you know what I'm saying. You're making efforts to.
well, I think that's, yeah, I don't know, like in terms of other things, like we're talking about visiting, you know, some other craftsmen. Now
Later
that's
on,
something
yeah.
that later on, well, that's something, I mean, that when you look at this as the major segment, but you may want to say, okay, you know, let's go to the lumberyard and see how I picked out this wood, or let's
Go to Belize.
go to Belize, yeah, let's go to Belize
Yeah,
and see how
We-
they,
we've got
yeah.
some- yeah, we're gonna, well, next time we go down, we're gonna photograph the forest, trees in the forest, particular trees and so